Good morning. I welcome you to our third part of the control series. And today we're going to be talking about this need that we to have things under control. So last week we talked about self control. This week is having things under control. And I was thinking about it and what does it look like to have something under control kind of in my life. And the best way I can describe it is to have something kind of in my grip, right? The ability to move that thing however I kind of see fit and how the direction that I need it to go would be me feeling like I have kind of control over that thing, that I have that thing under control. Whenever we are unable to do that, whenever we can't have something in our grip or something just doesn't feel like I can move it the way that I need to, I would just say things feel like chaos. And I want you to think about that for a second. I want you to think about the thing that's in your life right now that you don't really have that firm grip on. That thing that is tormenting you in some way. The thing that is taking your focus and like all of your mental brain power. I want you to think about that thing. I'm going to give you a second. And I bet if we were in person and I was asking you what that thing was, many of you, it would be what we spoke about last week. It might be something that you're not having or practicing self-control over. Or it may look like the thing, if you go back to the root of it, it may be the thing that a relationship that doesn't feel like you have kind of control over, or the effects of a relationship that you haven't had control over. And I was thinking about those times in my life, the times where I didn't have the control over a relationship, and those are really the impactful ones in my life, and likely yours as well. That whenever I didn't have that relationship under some form of control, it brought a lot of pain to me. It brought a lot of, I should say, exhaustion. I was tired, like mentally tired, because of all of the focus and attention that I gave to it. It was the times where in relationship was I've hurt the most, and people have hurt me the most. And it all comes from this lack of control, right? And think about it. Think about every relationship that you wish that you had right now. I'm sure that in many ways you feel like having that restoration of that relationship is out of your control. And you're probably right. It is out of your control. Unless, and I'm going to sidebar this really quick, unless you're the one withholding that restoration, which that's a sermon for another day. But if you're doing that, there's not enough time in your life to harbor that that resentment or whatever feeling that you feel inside towards that person. So I would, like I said, another sermon for another day. But I would recommend that you stop it and you go and you get that relationship back. I was thinking about that a little bit, and just imagine, your time has come to an end, and you're at the gates, and you're in front of your father and you're in front of this person, you have to say, hey, this is why I never went back to you. I never restored this relationship because I was mad. You hurt me. Like, whatever it is, that's crazy. So if that's you, if you're the one doing it, stop it. Like, you just need to probably stop watching this right now and you need to go fix that relationship. But for those of you who are in the midst of, a relationship that feels like it's out of your control, I have some good news for you today. And I want you to, as well, think about relationships that you do have that are chaos, where it feels like nothing good comes from it. These are the other situations that I've found myself in, where it feels like nothing good comes from it. And it's a relationship that God, meant for you to have with that person, but not in the manner that you've had it. And I've thought about it too, like, why with a lot of those relationships have I never gone back and changed the direction of that relationship with my friends or whomever, people that I felt like were my friends or people that I had some kind of common ground with? Why didn't I never go back and do that? And I think it came down to control. And likely for you, it's the same thing. It comes down to being able to have some form of control over that relationship. And you may be thinking, no, that's not why, Brandon. That is not why this isn't a control thing. This isn't a control thing. And I just want to tell you how it is, right? How it is a control thing and how everything just comes back to that. For me, with my friends back in the day, whenever I was, partying and doing all of that stuff, and that's what, my weekends look like. While at the same time, I grew up in this body and in this body, the church, and I really was passionate about our Father, but there was this part of it I didn't really want. I wanted them to see it, but I just wanted them to just stumble upon it. I didn't want to throw it in their face of who God has made me. I had to hide it in some way because this relationship I have with God would then change this relationship that I have with this person. And I didn't want to have that happen. I wanted to have some form of control over that in that relationship. So, and I was considering it. You ever have a lifelong friend or a friend that you grew up with in school, but then as you grow older, you get new friends, right? And people that you once had something in common with, you no longer have as much in common with, but maybe there's this new person that you have a lot more in common with. And what happens is that friendship that you had kind of slowly falls off a little bit. This thing that you thought would be there forever, it just stops because you have this new friendship, really, and this new person that you have this relationship with. And that's how it is with God, right? To have a relationship with him and really have a relationship with him, you got to put your time into that and your focus on that. And what that'll mean is that these other friendships, these things that you thought brought you fun, brought you life, whatever it is, them kind of fall off. And you don't there's this part of you don't want that. You don't want to give that up. That's the fun stuff. I don't want to give that up. And And that's that level of control that you have to have over your relationships with your relationships. You want to be able to put those into different little compartments. And that's just not how it's supposed to be. I was thinking of an example. I was trying to come up with some example, and I'm going to give you something that everybody has dealt with. It's so frustrating. I shouldn't be dramatic, but it is frustrating. But it is a great example of how little control we really have. You ever have maybe from your bed pillow, there's feathers, right, in your bed pillow, many people's, right, and that a feather gets loose and it's flying or like going about in the air a little bit. You ever try to capture it, right, and you just try to grab it and take control? You're probably not successful, because you do that and it just goes its own way. It just moves. And it just was, as I thought about that and what actually you have to do to capture it, you can't grasp at it hard. You just have to be gentle and put your hands out like this and kind of let it just like guide itself into your hands and then get it. How little control we have whenever we just go grasping at things. It just, it was a funny thing that I thought about this morning, actually. So I want to read a story it's in Mark chapter 4, and it starts at verse 35. We've all read it, but I want you to see this a little bit different today. It says, on that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion, and they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. He said to them, "Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" We've all read this story. We all know this, right? And it's often kind of taken in as this thing where God will calm this storm in me. I think it's a lot more than that. Think about what would have been happening, right? Big storm. Boat is filling up. There's chaos. There is chaos all around them. They're probably running up and down the boat, doing whatever with the sails, whatever they got to do to try to keep this thing afloat. Probably like using buckets or whatever they have to like get the water out as much as possible, and they're just not able to do it. Just absolute chaos. But then Jesus is just sleeping. Like, it's like, I'm good. Like, I'm just sleeping. And through all of this chaos, and it's probably not until, they've tried all of what they can do to keep things afloat, that they go to him and they say, "Hey, man, wake up. Like, we need your help." And it's not like they really knew what he was going to do there. I think in many ways it was an extra body. Like, you're sleeping, this thing is going on. Like, we're going to die. And again, the rest of this history, he wakes up and he calms the storm. And And this is a moment where they tried to do everything in their power. I believe they tried to do everything in their power before they went to him. They tried to have it under their control. And they just found that they couldn't. And I think that that's what this story really is, when all of that was happening, before they allowed themselves to get worked up, because they did, right? Even their response to him was like, do you not care? Like we're going to die. Do you not care? And there was one, their response, even their initial interaction with their father was one of panic, chaos, right? And again, he woke up and calmly said, peace, be still. And it all went calm. All of that chaos around them went calm. That chaos really it didn't touch them like they thought it was going to. But he calmed it all. Even to the point that after all of that happened, it says, and they were filled with great fear and said to one another, who then is this that even the wind and sea obey him? They learned something new about their father that day. They went through something, and they learned that they had no control. That the things that they wanted to be able to have under their own control, that they didn't have, and that they had to go to the Father. And again, I know you already know this because we've been talking about this for weeks, but he is the source. He is the one to go to. And when you do that, again, it'll be just like them, that they'll see him in a new way. Like, they already knew how amazing he was, but like, that was something that no man could control. That could not be, that's like not magic. Like that is, you can't do it. But he was able to just stand up and say, peace be still, and calm everything. And have it under his control. And that's what they recognize, that everything is under his control. And that's something that you need to recognize, that everything is under his control. Spoke about it a few weeks ago with Adam and Eve, kind of specifically, that they were given dominion over all of these things. And not until the enemy came and tricked them, and they didn't practice self-control, was that kind of tension built, that was no longer under, that control that was given to us was no longer really there. And I think a lot of times we think it still is there, or we think we still need to have some personal level of control over things. And we don't. And that's a good thing. Because just like them, in every single circumstance that you can think of, those times where you try to do it, it just gets worse. That's what was happening. They were trying to fix everything themselves. It just kept getting worse. They were trying to have control over things, and it just kept getting worse. In our relationships, when we try to have control over things, to move it how we think it needs to move, we're going to make it worse. when we have relationships that are just out of our control, it's going to him and giving that to him. Not allowing yourself to get worked up, panicked, try to move things in your own way, because you're just going to mess it up more. That's all that was happening there. They were really just messing things up even more. Yes, there was a storm, but whatever they were doing, because they weren't going back to that source initially, they were just making it worse, and they allowed themselves to get into a state of a panic that really consumed them in that moment. I asked you guys to give what your thoughts were on a good leader, and I want to read some of these. Some of them one of them I read, two of them I read, but let me read some of these really quick. I'm not going to read them out loud. You can all read them. Perfect. Our Father, and I've been sitting on this for a few weeks, and I was really thinking about this. We know this, right? If I say our Father is a good leader, you can say, yeah, he is, right? But no, he is a good, really good leader. And he is a wonderful father, a wonderful king, but he is a good leader. Something that I really look for in a leader, right? So a boss, a leader, right? For me, kind of personally, is I look for someone who, I know myself, I'm very self-aware. I know who I am. I know what I struggle with. I know the things I'm good at. I know the things I'm bad at. And I need a leader who can see all of that. Right? That's something that's important to me. That is an important attribute of a leader to me, because I need someone who can help guide me and help me grow. And our Father obviously is the perfect person for that, to be able to meet that thing in me. But I want to specifically talk again about relationships and in broken relationships that we have, that we want to have under our control. We want it to be a certain thing. We want it to look a certain way. And it doesn't. But we're praying about it. It's driving us crazy. But I want to tell you about a good leader, a good king, a good father. There's, if I can just be out there, we all have somebody or people that we miss, that we want to see God do a work in, that we want to see their life just kind of stop having all this chaos around them. And we want to see them saved, right? And our Father knows that. and he's a good leader. He's a good leader who can see his flock, can see everybody that's in his house, can see everything that's going on. He can see that person that you've been praying about for months, days, months, years, I don't know, decades, whatever. You can see that person. And he knows exactly what's going on in his house. That is an important thing. Probably one of the most important attributes and qualities of a leader, someone who can see his people, right? And whether they're here, whether they've continued their walk with God in another path, or whether they haven't, whether they put that down completely, the promise is he's still their father. They're still his. And that that's a comfort, right? And what's great is that he does, as a good leader would, what he needs to do to get that person to where he needs them to be. And, right, think about that. Think about that for a second. If you were put in charge of something and you were overseeing something and you saw someone stray or go a different way or cause chaos or whatever it may be, wouldn't you as a leader get that thing in order? Wouldn't you? You would. He'll do the same thing. He hasn't forgotten. He hasn't stopped. It hurts us because we haven't given control of it over to him. We're still looking, that pain that we have is because we still want to have some level of control over that relationship and what's happening. That maybe if I do this or maybe I do that, then maybe that'll get that person to change. Like, you got to throw all of that crap out the window. Like, it is not at all in your control, but it is in your good leader's control, our Father. And he can see exactly what that person needs. He is the only one who can touch that person's life in a way that will bring them back. And he will do that. But he's bringing them. You got to bring them somewhere. So that this thing that they're struggling with in their life and whatever has caused them to go astray and walk a different way, that they won't go back down that road. Because he's a good leader. And he's a teacher. And he's teaching them. So wherever they're at, I'm telling you what's happening right now in their life is God is still leading them. God is still teaching them, even if they don't think that that's happening. I'm telling you it's happening. And that is something to put your faith on, right? It said that our Father said to them, "Have you still no faith?" Guys, we've walked this road before in our own lives. I've walked this road in my own life. I've seen what God has done in my own life because I'm self-aware enough to see it. He's done it for you too. What makes you think he's not doing it for them? And he is. And it's time to give him that control. Time to give him the control over the relationships and stop trying to make it about you. You want to see change. You want to see things happen. You want to see chaos stand still and the waters not flooding the boat anymore. Give it to him. Give it all to him. Don't allow yourself to get worked up. Don't allow yourself to play with the sea and the wind that you can't control. Don't do it anymore. Go to him. That minute that you start feeling worked up, that you start feeling like there's chaos, that's the minute you go to him. You go to him and you say, "Father, I need your help." Not after you've allowed yourself to get all worked up. Not after you've let the enemy beat you up. Not after you allow the enemy to talk in your ear. first. See, that's what Adam and Eve did. They allowed the enemy to talk to them. They allowed the enemy to get them worked up. And that's when that control was lost. That's when they fell. What they should have been doing is in that moment, whenever he's talking in their ear saying, shh, let me go talk to my father. Like, okay, I hear what you're saying. And look, I'm going to be honest. It's kind of making sense. But let me go talk to my father. I just want to see what he's thinking about this. And they didn't obviously do that. They went their own direction. If you want to have things under control, you got to go to him. He's the only one who can put things under control. You don't need to do this alone. So many of you have been trying to do these things alone, or trying to do things in secret, try to have things under control in secret. I think about that too. Like we as families, we as families, we as people, we don't want anybody to know our business, right? We don't want anybody to know what we're struggling with or the things that we don't have under control. You know, it's, we don't want people to know our marriage is struggling. We don't want people. All right. Wow. We don't want people to know that our faith is struggling. We don't want people to know that stuff, so we keep it quiet. We try to get that thing under control in our own little space. We don't want people to know that we're scared. We don't want people to know any of that stuff, because I think there's a part of us that makes us feel like we're, weaker. I don't know what word it is. That if we show that someone may see us as not having things in control. And I'm telling you today, you don't have anything in control. If it doesn't go through him, you don't have it in control. You're just messing your life up. So whatever it is, it's okay. It's okay to be, honest. It's okay to be real about it. It's okay to speak it. It's okay to tell me what you're going through. It's okay to go to your father and say, man, I'm struggling here. I know I shouldn't be. I know you got this, but I am. I want this to be under control. Help me. And he's going to say, give it to me then. Give it to me. Let me have control. Because I know what to do. And that's that faith that you need to have. Faith that he knows what to do. He knows better. So I want to encourage you today. Whatever it is that isn't in control, that you don't have under control, and I'm sure there's a lot, that you give it to him. That you take that time to go to him. I was thinking about that too. With all of that chaos, everything that was going on, they found a moment. Whether they should have done it right at the beginning or whenever they did do it, they found a moment to go to him. I can tell you in my own life, there's a lot of times where I didn't find that moment. So I want to encourage you today. Take that moment. I'm telling you there's a moment. There's a moment today to give it to him. To put it under his control. To ask him. Say, take control of this. I don't want it anymore. I can't do it. And he'll take it. In all of that chaos, you'll see him get up and boom. Peace be still. And he'll be quiet. And you will stand there just the same as they did. Like, who is this that can fix all of that just like that? You'll stand in amazement. But you'll also get to know him in a new way. And if you've been there before, you'll get to remember him in a new way. Remember that, oh yeah, that's that guy that did that for me that other time that I needed it. So I encourage you, take that moment today. Take that step of faith. Give it to him. All that pain that you have, all of that exhaustion, all of that suffering, you don't have to have that anymore. You have that because you won't let go. Because you won't give up that control. You want to see all that calm? You want to see all that be washed away? You want that burden off of your shoulders? Give it to him. The one who has control. Amen.